Patrick Gavin, Politico. We are joined by Hunter Biden and Tony Fratto. You guys are doing the Live Below the Line, I guess, lack of eating program for the World Food Program, which raises money to feed school children around the world. Tell us a little bit about this program.
Well, Live Below the Line is basically an awareness program that we're also raising money to help feed children around the world that live on less than $1.50 a day. So of the 826 million people who go to bed hungry every night, we are trying to figure out a way, and World Food Program is one of the largest organization in the world that actually helps feed those people. And so for 25 cents, you can feed a child. And the Live Below the Line challenge is that you basically live in solidarity with those 826 million people and try to live on less than $1.50 a day in food and drink.
So the nuts and bolts of that is it's now May 3rd. You guys have been eating for $1.50 per day this entire week.
The whole week, starting Monday. This is day 5 for Hunter and I. Some others have done it for just a day or two, but
so your brother Bo did it for a day.
My mom did it for a day.
Yeah, we committed to do it for a whole week. Takes a little bit of planning.
Yeah.
Obviously, look, it takes a lot more planning for people who are actually living this way every day, right? In places where food is scarce or the money to buy food is scarce. But for us, it took a little bit more planning in a grocery store, thinking about what you want to eat each week and what are the kinds of things that you can buy that will last the whole week and get you through.
So this isn't the kind of thing where they just say, hey, look, you can eat on the side, but just sign up for this thing and get us put. Like, you guys are literally eating on $1.50 a week. You haven't cheated?
I haven't cheated. I've been tweeting out the things that I'm
is it actually hard to, so my assumption, of course, is that Friday, 5 days later, you all are starving. Is that true that you're really hungry, or in fact you realize that you can get a decent, with planning, as you said, you can get a decent amount of food for $1.50?
You're hungry. And to be serious about it, a little bit less about us, I know we can talk about us, but the serious thing is that, we're doing this for 5 days. The fact of the matter is that about a billion people almost have to do it every single day. And the planning that you have to go through as a family to be able to figure out how to eat as a family on less than $1.50 a day.
Can you talk about that number, where that number came from?
Well, the number comes from I don't know the exact source of the number, but World Food Program estimates that there's 826 million people that actually go to bed hungry every night.
Right.
There's 1.5 billion people, or 1.6 billion people, that actually live below the severe poverty line. Yeah, and so. And then they do, just like we do for how we figure out our poverty level, our poverty line, the same way worldwide they figure it out, and do the calculation. It basically comes out to $1.50 a day, in which they actually have the resources to buy food. And so if you figure that out on a family, it is, having done this for a week here is, it's been hard. But it hasn't been it's been a sacrifice of the things that we like.
That's the real reality of it. I mean, you're cutting out all those kinds of things, right? But even we have access to grocery stores. We have access to ways to find what we want to eat on $1.50 a day. Right now, the exchange rates aren't comparable exactly, but still, we're living on considerably less on a per day calorie level than we ordinarily would, and maybe even less than what is maybe even healthy for us. The reality is that there are literally hundreds of millions, more than 1 billion people who are living like that every day. They're malnourished, even if they are getting intake of calories. It's not the right kind of calories, so the nutrition isn't the same. And so we don't, no one doing this is saying it's anything comparable to what millions of citizens are living like every day. But it is to raise awareness. People went to the World Food Program website. They learned a little bit more about what the challenges are out there, what World Food Program is to try to meet that challenge in emergency situations in some of really the toughest places in the world, in Syria, in South Sudan, in Somalia, really, really difficult places, and World Food Program is first on the line with a plane full of food and really dedicated people trying to meet that challenge. But most importantly, they're trying to deal with it from a long-term in a long-term way also, thinking about long-term nutrition needs and ways that people in countries can do a better job of planning and meeting their nutrition needs on a sustainable basis long-term. It's really impressive.
You know, I'm curious too, I mean, is there a policy component to this, to the issue of hunger around the world. And obviously, you guys are kind of a bipartisan couple, son of the Vice President, Bush administration alum. Is there work that DC can do on this, and does it get mired down in politics, or do you find that people in both your parties are pretty on board with this?
Tony would be better about answering that question at a more granular level, but just on a 30,000 foot level, our relationship was born out of, we did a trip with one campaign to Africa, to Ethiopia, and then Ghana, all around these issues. And what I find, having been the chairman of the board of the World Food Program US for the last 2 years and been on the board for 4 years, it's a completely bipartisan issue. Yeah. I mean, there are very, very few people that I can think of, even in tight budget times, that have anything but an enormous amount of support for feeding kids that are hungry. And the thing that we're doing is linking that hunger, that nutrition piece, to education. So 25 cents provides one meal. So $250, 1,000 meals. And what we do at World Food Program is we have these school feeding programs that were born out of the McGovern-Dole bipartisan initiative that began in the 70s with in the Senate and then in the United States and then moved abroad. And what it does is it attracts children to come to school. So when I went to Kenya, for instance, you know, we went to Dadaab and Turkana, all places that Tony's been and many times. And what you see is these kids from ages 4 to 17 that have a place to come and get a meal. Girls are incentivized even more to come because they get to bring home a meal to the family. And you see the 17-year-old, the result of that 4-year-old that's been there, and you ask them, what do they want to do with their lives? And they want to be doctors, they want to be lawyers, they want to be teachers. And it's an amazing thing what one meal can actually do in changing a kid's life.
And there's nothing partisan about that, right? I mean, I think no matter what party you're in, you see that. But you know, if you think of like some of the criticisms of international development assistance program and any kind of aid programs, you know, have generally been that people, you know, they can't see the results. They don't think it's effective. You know, they're worried about things like corruption and things like that with aid dollars. When you look at the World Food Program, right, and you look at, you know, is it having an effect? Is it impactful? Absolutely, you can see it. It's you know, you could show evidence of it in real ways very quickly. Yeah. You know, can you see results? Yes, you can count the results. They can tell you down to the number of people. In fact, for every $250 that we're raising this week, 1,000 kids will get school meals. And I think what you started to say about combining it with education, right? Talk about effectiveness. Kids are going to school so that they can get a free lunch. It might be the only meal that they get that day is in the school. And I think we have reached 250,000 meals that we will finance this week just from the Living Under the Line program, right? So this is really impactful. You can measure the results, you can see it, and the American people are really you know, generous people and compassionate people and want to support you know, people who are needy, but only if they can see that it's effective and having results that they can appreciate. And I think the World Food Program just meets that challenge at every metric.
Well, I'm curious too, and hopefully this isn't too far afield. There's access to food and then there's access to good food. I mean, have you found both in this program that you're doing this week, but also just in your research that, I mean, there's this idea that, you know, to eat well is so much more expensive. But I mean, is that a myth?
By the way, no, it's not a myth. It's not a myth here in the United States, and it's not a myth in the places where World Food Program. Not a myth at all. The fact of the matter is that what the World Food Program has been trying to do, along with a lot of other partners, is figure out the way to deliver the most nutrients in a meal. And so they have a lot of partners that they've been able to do that with, and we strive to do that, to make every meal the most nutritious meal, because a meal in and of itself does not necessarily, will not necessarily regress stunting. It will not necessarily be the most nutritious way a child can grow. So there's a lot of science behind that. There's a lot of science that the World Food Program is directly involved in providing those meals. There's everything from Plumpy bars in emergency situations, which basically deliver all the nutrients in one, you know, basically one package, that severely malnourished people suffering from severe malnutrition receive when they come into a place like the Dobb, into a camp, before they're then introduced to a wider variety of food.
Quickly, what's your first meal tomorrow morning?
Well, oh gosh, my first meal is definitely not going to be oatmeal. I know that. I know that. I think I'll have steak and eggs.
What about you?
Definitely eggs. Definitely like traditional diner breakfast tomorrow morning.
Yeah. That's what we should do together.
That's what we should do.
Exactly.
That would be fun.
And I'm not trying to pull a fast one on you here, but I was literally ordered by my bosses that I have to ask you about this. This is the front page of the Washington Post today. Big story on your dad. Pro-Biden dreams versus realities. This is Politico. Do you have any 2016 news you'd like to break here?
No,
give us the first exclusive.
The first exclusive. No.
He's going down to South Carolina, a big meet and greet spot for any sort of Politico. And your dad's name gets bandied about.
I have no news to make other than I think my dad would be a great president, and I hope that he seriously considers it. I think that the one thing I will say is this: is a lot of people look at this, and I read the article too, and say, "Well, boy, I don't know, Joe Biden as it relates to the politics. As it relates to the policy, he'd make a great president. Yeah, he'd be a great president. But I'm not sure about the politics. I think the politics always works itself out. He and the one thing I do know is that Secretary Clinton and he are very, very close friends, and so it's a long way away. So
it's a long way.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are bipartisan on food. Tony wanted to back his dad for 2016. Get bipartisan on that.
You know what? Tony would ask me to do it. Don't make him do it, because you know what? He would if you asked him.
And I'm pretty sure the very last thing any Democratic nominee wants is my endorsement, right?
Yeah. By the way, exactly.
Not very good in the primary.
Well, I will make news. I'll endorse Tony for president. I will. Yes, I will run his campaign.
Well,
absolutely.
I'm not fired because they let me ask you. So,
Hunter,
thanks. Tony, thanks very much for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.